Yassin Aref and Mohammed Hussein were sentenced to 15 years in prison, resulting from an FBI sting operation involving money laundering from the sale of a fake shoulder-fired missile. The rally got underway just before 6 p.m. at the Washington Avenue Armory. Supporters then marched to the Masjid as-Salam Mosque on Central Avenue, where Shamshad Ahmad is president.
People, almost all, so far I know, out of hundreds of entrapment cases, they are innocent people, simply because of distortion, manipulation, and loose talk, and out-of-context talk, and power of the government, and the environment in which we are living after 9/11. They have been convicted and their lives have been destroyed. The Muslim community has been terrorized and frightened.
Steve Downs is a former chief attorney with the Commission on Judicial Conduct. Now retired, he's a volunteer lawyer who helped Yassin Aref during his trial.
This is one of those events that simply gets stronger as time passes and we begin to understand the significance of it. We now understand a lot more about the Bush administration, about the lies and the deceit that they were involved in, the kind of illegal activity. And we now recognize that the arrest of Yassin was part of a program they call preemptive prosecution. That is, prosecuting people before they commit the crime, and it's targeted at Muslims. People looking at the evidence realized that this man was completely innocent. He had no idea of anything illegal going on. Indeed, I think the government was very careful to make sure he did not understand that anything illegal was going on because they really wanted to get him locked up in jail, and they were afraid if he knew that something was illegal going on, he would have backed out or would have blown the whistle on it.
In the Albany case, it took an informant 5 months to talk Mohammed Hussein into accepting a loan. In the Fort Dix 5 case, an electronics store clerk in South Jersey gave police a copy of a customer's videotape that showed the men firing rifles and shouting Islamic battle cries. FBI agents and 2 paid cooperators then spent 18 months persuading the men to do something that would enable the agency to arrest them. Ferik Duka is the father of Dritan, Elvir, and Shane Duka, 3 of the members of the convicted Fort Dix 5.
As we know the history, the victims, they've been the blacks. Then, during the Second World War, came the Jewish people's turn. And now is our turn as a Muslims. Who knows who's going to be next?
Duka notes that it only took a few phone calls from the families of 2 journalists imprisoned in North Korea to earn their release. He claims repeated phone calls to Washington on behalf of incarcerated Muslims are never returned. He cites what happened to Harvard professor Henry Louis Gates as an example.
Even President Obama had a meeting with the policeman and Professor Gates. Nobody hears us. They're destroying our families. Innocent people for life plus 30 in prison for doing nothing. How far are we going to go? For what? We want answers from the government.
Duka insists his sons were entrapped. He himself has been fighting to stay in the United States. He argues that while he came into this country illegally, he and his family have tried to become naturalized citizens for years. Duka's 11-year-old granddaughter, Layla, made the journey to march in Albany. She was also a featured speaker at the rally.
I feel proud, and I hope we grab other people's attention to learn more about the case and see the truth. My dad and my uncles taught us how to be respectful and loving to everyone. And not once did my father or uncles mention Fort Dix anywhere. They're all caring and loving people. This whole thing's a lie.
Appeals for the Aref and Hussein cases were dismissed in 2008, but attorneys remain optimistic. Again, Steve Downs.
I'm sure that the injustice of these cases will eventually come to American attention. I've been sort of following with interest the case of Fred Korematsu, who was one of the Japanese Americans who was refused internment and eventually was convicted for it. And eventually he had his case overturned many years later on the grounds of prosecutorial misconduct. And he was eventually awarded the Medal of Freedom, and he was eventually filed a brief on behalf of Muslims who were locked up in Guantanamo. This is a man that understood perfectly well that it takes 20, 30, 40 years sometimes for the American people to finally understand the injustice issues involved. I hope it doesn't take that. I hope we have learned something from Fred Korematsu's case and from the case of all the other people that have gone before us. But I have to say right now, things are going slow.
For more information, visit our website, wamc.org. Dave Lucas, WAMC News.